Hey everyone, it's that time again for another Q&A. So before we get started, I just want to let you know, if you want a question picked for a future Q&A video, I pick these questions from the comment section down below and from Twitter. You can submit your question to me at OrangeGrow55 on Twitter, and I pick from either Twitter or the YouTube comments. So without further ado, let's dig right in. And the first question comes from Tyler Kelson of The Resistance. And he's asking, what common complaint from Disney fans do you get the most annoyed at? Marvel/Star Wars aren't Disney and don't belong in the parks would be my pick. Well, thank you, Tyler, for this question. Yeah, actually, you know what? That does annoy me too. I mean, to think that Marvel and Star Wars aren't Disney, in my opinion, is pretty ridiculous. Because what's considered Disney is ever evolving, ever expanding. You know, even with Walt Disney himself, you know, the definition of Disney changed and evolved and grew over time. Originally, he just did cartoons, and then he got into theme parks and live action. You know, it was constantly changing what it meant to be Disney. Same thing happening now. It's evolving and changing. Okay, and besides that, I mean, Star Wars, how could you say Star Wars is not Disney? It's a galactic fairy tale with princesses and cowboys. How much more Disney can you get than that, right? Marvel, same thing. These heroes, Iron Man, Thor, you know, Captain America, you know, kids look up to these superheroes like, you know, similar to how kids looked up to Zorro and Davy Crockett, you know, back in like the 50s and 60s. You know, it's the same kind of thing. And to say that that's not Disney, I think is really, in my opinion, I find that pretty ignorant. But to get to your question, what do I find the most annoying? Well, this isn't necessarily a Disney, you know, park fan pet peeve. It's more of a fandom pet peeve in general. I really cannot stand when fans say, nobody asked for this. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. We heard a lot of that with you know, like Solo: A Star Wars Story, and it's constantly happening with a lot of films. The reason why I don't like that phrase is because I think it's kind of, in my opinion, I find it kind of arrogant for fans to assume that, you know what, if we didn't ask for it, it shouldn't be made. Okay, I think that as fans, we should have an open mind. And, you know, maybe we didn't ask for this. Maybe it's not something that's first on, you know, the fandom list of what should be made. But have an open mind. You know, nobody really was clamoring or asking for an Ant-Man movie. But they made one, and it was amazing. It was a phenomenal film. It was a lot of fun, right? I'm glad they decided to make it, okay? So, you know, that's where I'm at with this. I don't like that. I think creative, you know, the creatives and filmmakers should have the freedom to make any film they want. If they have a vision for something, make it. Give it to us. Let's see what you got. It's not up to the fans to gatekeep and decide what should or shouldn't be made. Now, it's fair game. If the movie comes out and you don't want to see it, then don't spend your money on it. Vote with your wallet. Absolutely. But to outright dismiss something and say that just because fans didn't ask for it, this movie shouldn't be made, I think is really closed-minded. So that's my biggest pet peeve, is the phrase, nobody asked for this. Thank you, Tyler. I do appreciate your question. And the next question comes from Oakview Films. Oakview is asking, would you ever consider doing more videos on non-Disney parks, such as Universal? Well, thank you, Oakview, for the question. And also, you know what? I do want to say thank you, Oakview. You've been with me. You've been a supporter of this channel since day one, you know, for the past 3 years. And I just want to say I appreciate you, man. I really do. Thank you so much for sticking with me all these years. It means a lot to me. Now, to get to your question, would I consider doing more non-Disney videos like Universal? Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, I've been thinking about doing more Universal videos. I will be including those into my daily video uploads going forward. I've been really wanting to do that. Universal does a lot of great stuff. They do. I'm a fan of Universal. I love the Wizarding World. I'm excited for the new Jurassic World ride coming to Universal Studios Hollywood. I've done Universal videos in the past, but admittedly, they're far and few between. I will be making them more regularly going forward. It's a great little park, Universal Studios Hollywood is a great little park, but the Florida parks are spectacular, and I think they're definitely worth talking about. And it's fun to kind of break away from Disney and talk about something a little different. So yeah, in short, Oakview, I will be doing much more non-Disney park videos going forward, especially Universal. Thank you so much, Oakview, for the question. I do appreciate it. And the next question comes from John69. And John is asking, will Disney's reservation system for Galaxy's Edge backfire? Well, thank you, John, for the question. Will it backfire? I don't know. I mean, it really depends on your definition of what of backfire. You know, I mean, will there be issues, glitches? You know, will problems arise? Absolutely. Absolutely. They already have. I've seen on Twitter a lot of people complaining that they didn't get the reservation emails or that the date was wrong on the email and things like that. So yeah, there's going to be issues with any reservation system they roll out, which is, I think, in my opinion, is understandable and, you know, inevitable, right? Will it backfire though? I mean, overall, I don't think so. I think it would have been far worse just to have a free-for-all and just let everyone into the land. There is far too much demand for Galaxy's Edge just to let everyone in. It would be total pandemonium, chaos if they did that. So the reservation system is really the best way that they can kind of control, you know, the crowds, and you know, it'll make it manageable, and it'll be better for us as the guest to, you know, when we're in the land, it'll be more manageable. It's not going to be as crazy, and you'll have a better experience. So I think for them, for Disney, it's a plus, and I think for the guests, it's a plus. So no, I don't think it's going to backfire at all. I think it was absolutely the right decision. They had to do it. They absolutely had to do it. If they didn't do it, it would have been way too messy, way too chaotic. So thank you, John. I do appreciate the question. And the next question comes from Matthew Galvin. Matthew's asking, I know I asked this question last time and it didn't make it into the last Q&A, but I really want your thoughts on this one. If Walt Disney were to come back to life, how do you think he'd feel about this company, both film-wise and park-wise? Well, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate this question, and this is a big one. How do I think Walt would feel? I think the overall would be, I think Walt would be very pleased with his company. You know, Disney is more successful now than it's ever been. I think he would be very happy that it's in 2019 that his company is even still around. And not only is it still around, but it's massively successful. So I think overall he would be very pleased. You know, a lot of fans complain about Bob Iger. You know, they don't like how he's sort of expanding the Disney brand. You know, he bought Marvel, he bought Star Wars, now he bought Fox. And a lot of fans don't like that. More traditional fans, they feel like, you know, they're kind of losing sight of what it means to be Disney. And I disagree. I think that's one thing Walt Disney would have loved about Bob Iger, is that Bob Iger constantly changes the definition of what it is to be Disney. Okay, and I mentioned this in a question just a few minutes ago with Tyler, but you know, the overall idea of what it is to be Disney has always evolved, always changed over time, even under Walt. You know, like I said, he did cartoons, and then he did live action and the theme parks. So I think he'd be very pleased at how many different areas Disney has dived into and how diverse now this company really is. I think he'd be very, very happy about that. Now, it would be naive to assume that everything Disney has done since he died, he would love. Absolutely not. If you sat Walt Disney down and had him watch all the movies, all the animated films, I'm sure there would be plenty that he would criticize, okay, or not like. Same with the theme parks. There are probably rides, attractions, entire parks he probably wouldn't like or he'd have problems with. But I think overall, though, if you're looking at the overall picture, he would absolutely be thrilled with how the company turned out. Absolutely. You know, I mean, come on. I mean, how could he even predict that his company would be as massive as it is today? I mean, he would be in shock, absolute shock. Thank you so much, Matthew, for the question. I really, really do appreciate it. And the next question comes from Peter. And Peter is asking, with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Marvel dominating both parks, would it be realistic to think Disney would ever consider building a third park? Or will the city of Anaheim continue to block all future expansions? Well, thank you, Peter, for the question. I really, really do appreciate it. And also, I do want to say, Peter just started a Disney YouTube channel. Check him out, link above. He just started, he only has a couple videos out right now, but he's off to a phenomenal start. He does really, really great stuff. So check him out if you can. So Peter, to answer your question, do I think the city of Anaheim is going to continue to block all efforts by Disney going forward? No, I don't. I think those days, the Mayor Tom Tate days are over, thank God. And I think the new mayor is more pro-Disney. From what I heard, the board is also more pro-Disney now. So I think we're going to get a little more cooperation with the city now that the politics, has changed. But in terms of a third park, I think it's going to happen eventually. It's inevitable. I mean, Disney only has so much room in Anaheim. So eventually they're going to have to build a third park and focus on expansion that way, because eventually Disneyland's going to run out of space. Eventually California Adventure is going to run out of space, and they're going to need to look for other ways to grow. Third park is the best way to do it. So it will happen. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, though. I would bet probably 15 years maybe. After they expand Fantasyland, after they redo Tomorrowland, and after DCA, fixes like their Hollywood Land and stuff like that. After all that's said and done, I think Disney is seriously going to look into building that third park. They have to. If Disney Resort wants to remain a viable, thriving resort going forward, it's going to have to look into building another park. It just is. But it's just not going to happen anytime soon. I wish it would, but I don't think it will. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate your question. And the next question comes from China Ramundo. And China is asking, which Disney parks have you been to? Which one would you want to visit next? What's your favorite Disney attraction? And if you could change anything at Disneyland or DCA, what would it be? Well, thank you, China, for the question. I do appreciate it. And also, China is a friend of the channel. So again, link above, check her stuff out. She has a lot of Disney content. So China, there's a lot here. So I'm going to answer all your questions. Which Disney parks have I been to? Unfortunately, I've only been to the California parks. I've been to Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. Now, if you want to talk about overall, Disney, like fun Disney experiences, I've also been to the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, which blew me away. I've been about 4 or 5 times now, and every time I go, it's surreal. It really is, and I know it sounds super cheesy, but that studio really is magical. It really does have that whimsy to it, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I've also, in terms of like just fun, special experiences, I've also gone to Club 33 like a dozen times or so. I have a close family member, a relative that is a member of 33, and I've been to the club many, many times. And I feel very fortunate to have done that. I mean, it is very hard to get in, and I feel like that, that's a special thing, and I really do cherish that. I really do feel, appreciative about that. But what Disney park would I want to go to next? Well, it has to be Tokyo Disneyland. It has to be. I mean, Disney Sea looks incredible, right? I mean, that whole resort is so amazing. And it's not even just the park itself, it's the people. The Japanese people, they have such a passion for Disney. I mean, you see these pictures on Twitter and online of the Japanese guests at Disneyland. They're dressed up like in these elaborate costumes, and they have so much enthusiasm and so much passion for Disney. And that's a big reason why I would love to visit Tokyo Resort. the passion that comes from the Japanese people in regards to Disney. It's incredible. So between the passion and just the amazingness of the theme parks itself, has to be Tokyo. It has to be Tokyo. Okay, so what would I want to change at Disneyland or DCA if I had the power to do so? The one thing that I would do is I would dump a lot of money, like $1 billion, similar to what they did with DCA in 2012. I would take about $1 billion like that and pour it into DCA even more so. I really love DCA. I'm an advocate for that park. I think it has so much potential, and I would just go in there and really improve just so much. I would go in there and improve the pier and give that park a lot of elaborate, immersive, top-notch dark rides and make California Adventure a signature destination park. You know, Disneyland deserves that. Disneyland is such an iconic, legendary park. It deserves a sister park that rivals it, you know? And if I was CEO, if I was Bob Iger, I would greenlight like $1 billion and just make California Adventure like a Disney Sea level quality park. I think that would be one of my biggest priorities. So yeah, that would definitely be on my list. And then your last question, what's my favorite Disney attraction? Now, this is going to sound a little bit like a cop-out. I actually don't have a favorite attraction. There's no like one ride that I have to go on or that's like, you know, a must ride every time I'm at the resort. Really, my favorite attraction at Disneyland is just being at Disney. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, but it's true. I could literally go to Disneyland and not ride a single ride, sit on a bench, have a Dole Whip, and just absorb the atmosphere and be completely content. In fact, I've done that many times. I've gone to Disneyland and have not ridden one ride and left just as satisfied as I would have if I would have rode 15 rides. So it's just being at Disney. I just love the atmosphere. That's all I really need. That's my favorite attraction, is just being at the park. Of course, I love the rides. You know, of course, I love going on Radiator Springs Racers and Indiana Jones and, you know, Peter Pan. I love doing all that stuff, but it's not necessary for me. It's not necessary. It's not like I have to do those things. Just being at the park is enough for me. I absolutely just love being at Disney. So thank you, China, for your questions. I do really appreciate it. So that concludes this Q&A video. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want one of your questions answered, you can submit them to me on Twitter at OrangeGrove55 or down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I really do want to emphasize how much I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as always, have a magical day.